development or SharePoint design. Basically like SharePoint Online or SharePoint 2013 on-premises. Generally like the latest version of SharePoint 2013 is of two types.
Yeah.
One is on-premises,
Okay.
where we will be deploying our SharePoint server on a local machine. Cloud, which we call it
Cloud.
online. So basically SharePoint Online is also coming with Office 365 in a package.
Okay.
So like nowadays most of the stuff, most of the projects they are putting completely on cloud, so that
Yeah.
machine could be more secure, and it's very cheap compared to what we have in like server editions on local premises. Okay, right.
Yeah.
So throughout our SharePoint 2013 training, I'll be covering a lot of topics. In fact, like what actually the SharePoint is. We'll start with the introduction. Then we'll be covering the basic elements of our SharePoint 2013 on-premises deployment, just that we had in the previous version compared to the previous version. And then we'll be having a lot of PPTs running throughout the new features of our SharePoint, especially the content search web part, and then how we will be using the scripts, like the Microsoft intention. Basically, like why SharePoint 2013 has been developed in such a way by Microsoft is their intention is to minimize the server-side code as much as possible. Minimize the server-side code. You might have done a lot of C# coding, but in future that might go into production servers, or the clients doesn't want them to interact with the server-side code because of performance issues, because of handling and maintenance costs. You know, like what I'm saying. When project comes, probably a client also looks for the maintenance. Today's generation, maintenance is almost like 1/3 of the total cost, so which they don't want to incur. So Microsoft has developed SharePoint 2013 in such a way there will be very less communication with the server. In fact, like it will be asynchronous. Most of the communication is through asynchronous process. Currently, I'm working with the Microsoft itself. I'm a vendor to Microsoft, and in SharePoint development also I had a part. So I know much about the complete in and out of what actually the SharePoint 2013 is. Right.
Okay.
So before starting the entire process, I just want to have a small introduction about what actually the SharePoint 2013 is. Okay. So it's basically again a repository, or what we call as content management server. We have generally in SharePoint 2013. So what we had previously, the same thing we had, but added to that, obviously there will be numerous other features. Okay, especially like we have shredded storage. What to happen when the documents got expired? Do we need to store? Do we need to shred? Might be some documents would be more secure, and it should get deleted, but somehow there is a possibility that still deleted files could also be retained on the hard disk. So we have a process called shredded storage, where we can store all our documents which has to be shredded, okay, in some storage location. And then a lot of SQL improvements. In fact, like in our SharePoint 2013 development, we will not be touching any kind of SQL things, because everything is through clients is list and libraries. So backend, we are not. I mean, we don't think we'll be using any kind of backend like coding kind of thing. Then cache services. The main intention of Microsoft to improve the performance of Microsoft SharePoint 2013 is to reduce the load on server. Okay, reduce the load on server and use maximum performance from the client side end. And further, there are a lot of cache services available. And the new thing that is request management, sharing. So when you come across the request management, how you request your data from your SharePoint. Generally, like till now, what we did is we wrote a lot of like web services, a lot of C# server-side code to call a lot of other services. But in future, how we are going to do that? Like completely REST technology. In REST technology, what we do is we'll simply pass our parameter through URL. It's just like a parameters requesting from URL. Sorry, any method that we are requesting from URL. So URL will serve the purpose. We are not supposed to do any kind of logic behind our scene. We will simply request some kind of URL by passing parameters. From there itself, our response will be available. Okay, then how actually the service applications works? If you have looked into SharePoint 2010 previously, everything is a service based. So in content management server, what happens is a lot of content will be stored which can be available for any kind of authenticated user for collaboration purpose.
Yes.
So when we say collaboration, what actually the collaboration will do is that will help us to share some kind of information. So when we have a data at centralized location, probably there should be some people who will be authenticating that data. Now while authenticating, it is also necessary that some people might require it to share. Just about content storage, it is about people who organize the data and people who collaborate themselves while sharing the information. Like for example, simply take any kind of department like marketing, sales, like IT services, any kind of department, or HR, finance. So there could be a lot of departments where they need to interact with each other so that they can share some information for broad-minded usage. Right, SharePoint serves such kind of purpose. SharePoint allows the user to share information only through authentication. Okay, authentication is again very important here. See, SharePoint has been built on three major pillars. From the very beginning, SharePoint on the first version is released in 2001. 2001 that we call as SharePoint. It is a SharePoint local version where we don't have any kind of web edition over there. We don't have any kind of browsers to navigate through any kind of applications. It's a simple standalone application which is a SharePoint 2001. At that time they defined three pillars for SharePoint. Basically on these three pillars SharePoint has been built throughout and got extended till now. So those three pillars are, first one is the data or what we call as information. Second one is security. Okay. Third one is most important, the people. So why all these three are important is, first one, data. When we say data, does any kind of company or organization is there without any kind of data? There is no. In fact, like that, there is no company like without data. Every company, every organization manages something through some kind of data. The data could be in any form, whether it could be like a simple text, or it could be a file, it could be a folder, it could be a zip, it could be any kind of encrypted file data, it could be like audio, it could be video, it could be image, any kind of data. Again, everything has to be managed, right? Without data, there is no company, there is no organization. In fact, even an individual person requires a data for himself, like what I am going to do tomorrow, the to-do task, what will be my today's task. There is something for each and every individual. There is something very important, and data is important. So when we have the data, it is very important to even manage it better. A lot of people will have their own data, but not every person will be successful. Manage the data properly. If they organize the data properly, then only it helps us grow. So data management is important. That is why Microsoft has defined the first pillar as the data itself. The second pillar, as I said, first pillar is something data. But for the data, if you don't provide any kind of security, again, there's a lot of issues. I have the data, and some person is sneaking into me to get my data. There is no security provided. What's the use of it? So when we have the information or data, it is also our responsibility to make it very secure. Security is also the main criteria. And finally, the third, team or people. Right? We have the data, we have security for the data, but if there are no people to manage the data, then what is the use of having the data? So when we have the data or information, it is also required that we have people to manage it properly. That's why the three pillars are mentioned as data, security, and the people. So based on this is as a foundation. Based on this, complete SharePoint has been built as one of the content management server where a lot of data can be stored. It can be managed with proper authentication, providing high-level security, and moreover, there are a lot of people who are involved in organizing this entire data. So for SharePoint, which we had in the very early, like when I started learning SharePoint, yeah, early stages. So, but now, not just these three pillars, there are a lot of other pillars added to that. When I say pillars, it's the basic foundation. Everything is based on these three. Again, new features has been added 2001. So Microsoft has released every 3 years a new version. In 2001, that is the first version of SharePoint. Then in 2003, second version of SharePoint, so that is SharePoint Server. Then in 2003 they released 2003 version. In early 2007 they have released another version, MOS 2007. They call it as Microsoft Office SharePoint Server. Then in 2010 again one more version was released, which was very, very famous. In fact, like most of the clients went with SharePoint because it has plenty of features compared to the previous versions. The new version, that is 2010, the previous version, has lot of service applications that we can create. So if you see here, the diagram itself shows these are all services. I can provide services using user profiles. I have service to provide search. I have service to business connectivities, metadata management services, Excel services, or we can integrate even with third-party services. We can work with our local team sites, or we can even work with intranet. So it is something like enterprise version. Enterprise, we can start with the basics and we can even launch our site to intranet level. So it's a very big thing for SharePoint 2010, and plenty of clients went with SharePoint 2010. But again, 2010 was where we have used a lot of SharePoint server calling. Again, we have used C# language where we need to communicate with the server to get the data. We had plenty of methods, but clients doesn't prefer to every time go to the server and fetch the data. Instead, what they want is let the data reside on server. Request has to come through client. That too using client-side scripting. When we have JavaScript or jQuery, why don't we use server-side script? Because when we say server-side script, for every single request, there should be a response again. That increases the load on server. So when we have thousands, millions of requests, obviously the load will be high. So that's why SharePoint nowadays they are using plenty of data, some terabytes of data they are storing. So it's a massive data. For massive amount of data, there could be like billions of users are there. You see, like one of my SharePoint project that is from Microsoft. We developed the Xbox reporting tool, Xbox 360, where some billions of users has to report their data back to the server. And every second there is it's like not just a second, in milliseconds they used to calculate, microseconds. In fact, like for every 100 part of second, some millions of users they used to log into that server. So plenty of requests, high amount of data, and lot of traffic. So in such a cases there is maximum possibility of crashing the server. Now what they are doing is they are building completely a new technology where they use client-side scripting. I communicate to the server only once. I have entire logic written. I'll post my data to the server through URL. Okay, let the URL do the transaction. Okay, it will create or update or delete whatever the data we require from the server, and it fetches only once in a while. It won't go to the server every time. It is asynchronous process. Why we want the data every time when we have similar kind of request? When we have same request, better we post it once. Whenever the entire data has been manipulated on the background, let it fetch once in one go. So it helps us to organize our information properly with high performance. That was the main intention. Basically, 2013 has such kind of technology. For that, we have three types of applications which we can create through SharePoint. One is SharePoint hosted itself. We call that as apps. Okay, previously they used to call it as service applications. We don't have service applications now. We have everything as apps. You know, iPhones. In iPhones, you install a lot of apps. Plenty of apps are there. Nokia apps. You have like Android apps. Okay, those are what we call as individual component or a reusable component. Such kind of reusable component we can create using SharePoint 2013. But what kind of language we are using? We are using simply JavaScript or jQuery. Okay, we call that as CSOM or client-side object model. We can use SharePoint client-side object model, or we can use jQuery, or we can use even REST. Okay, so here we are using SharePoint hosted or auto hosted. That means you're building your application to launch that on cloud. That is auto hosted or provider hosted. If you have a separate cloud storing their entire project in separate server on cloud, and we have to host our application there, we'll be using a provider hosted, hoster. Point host, self-host or auto-host. Then the third one is provider host. So likewise, we can create 3 different types of applications. So every application has their own individual functionality. So we can create that kind of functionality for what kind of purpose? Basically to organize our content again. I have the data to show a user in a responsive way, like touch screen. Like we have plenty of touch screens now, right? So I want to show my data in such a way that user on touch, he has to manipulate. He can just click, or he can drag and drop, or he can move the data touch based. Right? We have what we call these are all called as responsive design methodologies, or what we call as simply metro style. Okay, from the launch of Windows 8, the entire design is now a metro style. It's like everything. If you see tiles, right? Whether you go into the Windows 8 phone or Windows 8 operating system, every tile over there, it's a metro style that has been built keeping in view the touch. Right, when we touch and type or touch and drag, it has to work smoothly, seamlessly. There should be a proper integration of our fingertips to the screen. So a lot of such kind of apps has been built, and those apps has been built based on different kinds of information. What? There could be different business values, whether it could be internet business or it could be for discovery purpose. Discovery means like it could be either to connect to Exchange server or to SharePoint or to enterprise management systems to get the data. And what kind of data, what kind of workarounds would be either to work on mails or workflows, integrate with your Outlook, or do some kind of retention fee or compliance policies. Lot of things we can do it. These are generally like enterprise content management systems, ECMs. Then how the information flow will be? I am requesting the data. How the data I'll get? This is simple one slide where I am showing how the data can be found. Basically, like there could be information management and how we can discover it using different methodologies. Okay, we can preserve, we can search, or we can review, or we can even export. So these kind of operations we have in SharePoint. We can preserve, we can search, we can review, or we can export. For preserving, we have the document libraries, or we have lists. For search, we have basic search, enterprise search, fast search. For reviewing, we have visualized workflows. For reviewing, we have visualized workflows where you can have the data that has to be reviewed by various other third parties or your managers. Then what kind of methods you are using? I am using my workflow. So SharePoint provides its own workflow. Apart from that, if you are configuring your SharePoint with 360 or 365, that is Office 365, then you can even go with Azure workflows, Windows Azure workflows, and we can export our data either as a PDF or as a TIFF, or we can even print various things. We can convert our PDF documents into docs, that is docx files, Word documents, or simply show Excel file onto the page, or convert our Excel file into some kind of PDFs. So a lot of things are available here. Then how, like where all this will be, how we can have to manage the data. If you see, this is the basic page of our SharePoint 2013. Okay, this is the site where our data will be. Discovery sets, queries, sources, exports, documents. So a lot of links will be there where when you click on each of these, they'll show up the data. Not just showing up the data. It will show when the data has been created, who modified it, at what time it has been modified, and how many hits are there for particular data. Okay, it has a built-in analytics which will run on behind. Okay, it will show the entire, like export status, when it has been downloaded, how many downloads has been happened so far, right? So who downloaded, on which location, everything we can track. So it has a proper tracking mechanism using analytics, right? Then how you manage and export your discovery sets. Like once you have the data, how you can manage it. Obviously, as I said, it can be exported as PDF, or it could be exported as TIFF files or images or print. Anything we can do it. Okay. So how you like integrate your data? Is it possible that can we integrate our data with various other like third-party sources or any kind of APIs or legacy servers? Yes. Answer is yes. You can communicate your service application or app with any kind of legacy servers, whether it could be SQL or Oracle or like Sybase or even SAP servers or informatics servers. Any kind of server you can integrate easily with Office. SharePoint 2013.
Okay.
Okay, not that that is not just any third party. They just need to give their own API and we can fetch the data using that API. Any kind of application program interface is sufficient for our SharePoint 13 to fetch it. It doesn't require any kind of WSDLs also. Even if it is there, yes, we can get it. Whether it is a web service, whether it is like a simple API or any kind of third-party integrated tool, yes, we can integrate and fetch the data from there. That means complete integration with any kind of legacy servers. So it is just like easy to hook. You can hook it and get the data. So what kind of documents it supports? Basically it supports OneNote. Nowadays a lot of people are using this OneNote. Then document set icons.
I heard this.
Yeah. Everything it supports. In fact, like there are no documents which it does not support. Every kind of documents it will support. But
so they have included all the extensions, yeah?
Right. It has lot of extensions has been included, but again we can restrict. We can restrict some of the extensions. For example, like a lot of exe files, they might contain some kind of virus. Right. Is all by default some extensions will be blocked by default. So we can unblock whenever we require, or we can even block some other extensions which we wanted to block from like external usage. Like in my company, like a lot of these files, like what we call as PDF files, will not be available for sharing purpose, because PDF files are generally like those files where a lot of policies will be circulated. They don't want those policies to be printed or downloaded or documented. So, like PDFs, some of our like a base or what we call as cubics, they don't allow it to download or they don't allow it to like copy it. So they will restrict the PDFs. It depends on the workaround tools. So you can manage your
content management. Yeah?
Content management, whether it could be files, videos, audios, anything. Anything, literally any kind of data you can manage. Whether it could be embedded text, like simply if you have the video URL of any YouTube video, just provide that URL and your video runs from SharePoint. Okay, embedded URLs will be there for YouTube. We can run it easily. Okay, or we can even search the data from YouTube, from SharePoint. We can search the data from any kind of internet URLs. It supports any kind of workflow designers. I have the workflow designer tool called Visio. Visio is something where we can draw the flowcharts.
Okay.
Visio.
That already is there in Microsoft.
Yeah, it's there already in Microsoft Office. That's what we are.
So
we
they
can
have
make
just
use of.
upgraded it.
Right. They have upgraded, and we can simply create a workflow using those diagrams. Any kind of commands or no need to write any kind of coding. It simply picks up the blocks, whether it is like a decision box, or it is a stop box or a start box. Based on that, it will start the workflow. Okay, based on the arrow marks, it will process the workflow. It will have everything as clear URLs. There are no hidden URLs here. Everything is clear. Simple metadata navigation. So you can build, in fact, great sites. You can show documents here like this, or you can simply create, show your HTML files, how you want your data to be. Everything, every kind of integration or design things, you can show it on the page. So it supports all kinds of like browsers. Previously, in March 2007, it supports basically only IE, Internet Explorer. 2010, it was supporting Chrome and Mozilla. But the thing is, there were a lot of design issues. Some CSS got supported, some not. If you see the rounded corner blocks, those were not properly shown in Mozilla and Chrome compared to what we had in IE. But in 2013, everything got written off. Now, any kind of CSS, it works perfectly in any kind of browsers. So browser compatibility is looked after here well. It's a better search engine optimization. Basically, like any kind of site you want that site for visibility purpose. That means if you want to see how my site is performing in internet, how many users are hitting my internet, search engine optimization. By default, SharePoint has its own search engine optimization, which will allow any kind of search engines, such as Google or Bing,
Google AdWords,
look into your, yes. So they can look into your site using search engine optimization tool built in by Microsoft. So it's a built-in tool. So there is no need to work around SEO for us now.
Okay.
So a lot of managed navigations. You can have like a tree view, or you can have like a simply quick launch. You can have vertical. You can have horizontal. Lot of things you can physically manage using the navigation controls. So previously those are all built in. Now you can apply plenty of other designs as well.
Okay.
Okay. So plenty of things. If you see here, it shows in previous one. Where is this one? So it has even the microblogging templates, just like how we had in Facebook. We have blog site here, which we can create a blog site very similar to the Facebook. You can post your content, you can comment, you can reply, you can like, you can follow. Okay, you can post your like news feeds, get the RSS feeds. So everything you can manage using this microblogging site that you can create on the fly using SharePoint. No need to write any kind of logic. No need to write any code. The template is already there. You just need to create using that template.
Is there a certification for this SharePoint?
Yes, we have a lot of certifications. Like we have SharePoint 2013 is new release. So 2013 certification is not yet ready. You can prepare on SharePoint 2010. We have 712, 712, 7110. In fact, 3 certificates. One is development, second is administration, the third one is content management. Especially this version, SharePoint 2013, is built to support various device channels. Device channels in the sense like it works pleasantly with any kind of hardware, supporting any kind of operating system. If it is a Windows, then it works fluently. Otherwise, Android, of course, it will be tested in a lot of Windows 8 phones. So it is working excellently. So like, all kinds of, whether it is 8-inch phone or like 7-inch tablets, notebooks or laptops, it works fluently. Okay, and it has a full integration with Windows Phone 7. So, and these are like what they actually created. Community, home sites, blog sites, links. These are all basically like feeds. Okay, generally how it works in Facebook, LinkedIn, or any kind of social networking sites. Similar things we have here. So it's generally a mix of like content management and then social networking. If you might want it to log into some other social networking site to manipulate your data, or you can, if you want to fetch the data from like third-party site to here. Like generally, what we have is our site is being fetched. We will publish the data LinkedIn profiles. We will search the LinkedIn profiles and we'll publish it back. We'll fetch data from Facebook. There are a lot of users who are like Facebook people who want from there to purchase this Xbox reporting, Xbox tools, Xbox gaming console. So we have the data published from SharePoint to Facebook to LinkedIn, and we have even the data published to Zapper. We have the data published even to like around 17 sites are there, social networking, or a lot of people who go through search. So a lot of content management happens through various other sites as well. Okay, so this is basically SharePoint introduction, but what actually we are covering here? Yes, of course, whatever I showed you, this will be covered. In fact, like we will cover even the client-side object model, how we write the programs, how we communicate with our server. So it is like communicating with either REST. Okay, REST is something which is, we call it as representational. Okay, representational state transmission technology. So it uses URL, picks the path from the URL and retrieves the data from there based on the parameters which we pass through URL. Initially, we used to call it as a query string. We used to pass the query string through URL, right? Now we have the REST. How we pass the parameters, it's not just passing the parameters, we will also write some kind of methods using either post or get. Generally, like we used to have only post and get. Now we have merge, patch. So a lot of these kind of methods are there, which we can directly contact the server using the URL, or modify the data into the server using the URL itself. That means URL will take care of modifying the information using different kind of methods that we use through, that we pass through REST. Okay.
Okay.
So like first we'll start with basic SharePoint 2013 introduction with administration and the look and feel of SharePoint, what actually it contains, like list and libraries, workflows. Okay, those are the basic user interface things that we need to understand before we start the actual development. When we go into the development, we'll be using a lot of JavaScript. Okay, a lot of JavaScript or jQuery. Here we don't have any kind of C# language to use.
Okay.
So
how many days does this take?
Yeah, it is basically like it's a new version. Like the last one of my class is still going on. I mean, initially, like the previous version, I took it for 30 hours, 30 hours to 45 hours, 30 hours to 45. Okay. Now, like probably.
I was told that it takes around 2 to 3 months for the.
Oh my God, 2 to 3 months. I mean, 2 to 3 months. It's more than enough. Even if you like attend alternate days or 2 days, still we are going to complete early.
Okay. Is it? Okay.
Because if you see SharePoint 2013, most thing it has itself. We just need to show you how it works.
Alright. Okay.
And then the actual development, how you communicate with your server using client side.
Yeah.
Using the client context. How you
so it is almost like a 3-tier architecture, yeah?
Entire architecture.
Entire. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Entire
architecture. 3-tier architecture is something you have interface in between. We don't have any interface. We have everything on like your data scattered around various other sources.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have like any Office 365 version, then we can do plenty of things. That is on cloud. So how we communicate with the cloud, how you design your pages, how you write the code and build your apps. Those will be like very while we are developing and after developing an app. I'll show you by developing completely one app. We'll develop one app. In fact, it's just like a project kind of thing.
Okay.
We will develop an app and publish that to our catalog, or you can even publish that to Microsoft catalog, where like people can make use of it.
Okay.
Okay, so there is small introduction about what actually we are supposed to do and how SharePoint is actually built starting from 2001. So like in future you have to, I mean, you know already C#, but you might need to forget it coming future, because that technology is now wearing off.
Yeah. In fact, we had C# when I was doing my MSc.
Okay.
As part of my curriculum.
Those are generally, it's a good that we have at least programming skills, because for SharePoint 2013 onwards, programming skills are must, but not the server side, client side. The same thing, architecture is same. Like when you are everything there, you also create object. Here also we create object. Okay, there you use like everything as dot. Of course, we will be using here dot methods, dot index, or like, any kind of index you can use it, or methods. Everything similar. The only thing is technology is different. So that's what like to say about SharePoint 2013. It's easy to learn. Frankly speaking, it requires a lot of in-depth understanding. First, we need to understand why we are using the SharePoint. Okay.
So you will be giving me some type of documentation to study beforehand?
Definitely. You will be giving the materials on the topics which we will be covering.